They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the minute of the apes. Beneath the minute of the apes. Beneath the minute of the apes.
The only good human is a dead human.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes films 1 minute at a time. You know, say that enough and eventually you're going to go...
At this point, we're at 2 films.
Yeah. So I am Todd. That was Sean, and he hasn't spoken yet, but he's here too.
Oh,
Richard.
Hey, everybody.
So we are at minute 34. That is Thursday for the week. Sean, why don't you tell us what's going on with minute 34?
No, we're going to start minute 34 with gorillas running at the camera and ends with gorillas running attack drills.
Let's take a listen to this riveting minute.
All right, I'm hoping at some point this change will count. This count will change.
Okay.
I said it backwards.
Man, we need to strike and reverse this entire podcast.
Reverse and strike it too. All right. We got 3 living humans, 4 dead apes. Oh no, 4 dead humans. See, I'm getting reversed already. 1 dead ape, a shooting of apes, and a gaggle of humans.
And 1 dead horse.
And 1 dead.
A bunch of abused
Well,
horses.
we don't know dead. We know knocked over. We don't know dead.
Fair. That horse was
We heard
not
a gunshot.
getting up.
They could have nicked a leg. I don't know.
I think the script says shot under the belly.
There we go. See, still alive.
Dead.
Shot under the belly.
We
Shot
just got to
under the
get
belly.
Rick's mom from Rick and Morty to take care of the horse. All right.
Okay, so to Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So we're back to netting people.
Yeah,
Does
we
that
got.
actually work?
Okay, no, it doesn't.
But hang on, this net is already hung.
Yes,
Right.
So they knew that they were
they're going
cavalcating.
to force them that way somehow.
How many
mean,
Western
nets do they
films
have
have
to-
been, how many Western films have been made before this film is made in 71 that had effective cattle herding scenes on it that all they had to do was go and say, copy that scene directly? I mean, okay, how many
You
films
force
copy?
them in a way.
Yes. How many films copy things? You go watch The Phantom Menace copies the chariot race scene from Ben-Hur almost shot per shot.
For the pod racing
Yes.
stuff.
Why can't they do the exact thing? Go, hey, somebody give me a John Ford cattle herding scene.
Well, I
and
think
do
I have.
it. This is so poorly done.
I think I have notes in later minutes that really feel like this was a Western movie that they converted, or somebody is a Western hero that did all their writing points to make this.
We've had multiple minutes now of running in the woods
and running.
And I think the choreographer was just out of ideas. I mean, what do you like? It's just we're in the woods, we're running, we're being chased, we're in the woods, we're running, we're being chased, we're doing all this stuff. Like it just. I did not know that nets worked this well.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that Nova falls out of the net.
Boom. Yeah.
Lands on the ground and then does nothing.
Yeah, she just kind of goes, oh,
She's
and while
just-
Brent's
She's
clawing
just
it on
dead
himself.
fish. She ain't moving.
Yeah, she fell out of the net.
Okay, maybe she's been herded so many times that she knows not to resist because this is where the apes beat her.
But we do. Okay, so they wrestle Brent to the ground with the net. Nova's out of the net and she's got 2 gorillas on her. She's not resisting. But when they go to put the collar on her is when she actually kind of starts to fight back a little bit.
Well, that's not the first time she's had a collar on her.
True.
Yeah, I did have Nova didn't even try. Her portion of the net has stun technology, so she's out once it hits her. No fake plane for the net for her, like Brent just clawing it down on himself. Like, I can't get out.
So to beat my my unfairly tortured and dead horse, apparently, this scene, just like all of these chase scenes, is shot in the same exact place as every chase scene is going to be shot over 10 minutes. They keep going back to this open area of open fields surrounded by trees. Could we not at least break up these chase scenes so that it felt like they're running through different regions? Because this all feels like it's shot on the same day.
I mean, are they padding this movie?
Yes.
It's
entirely.
It's 95 minutes. Let's put it that way.
There's your answer to what's happening. They're shooting all this extra stuff because they can shoot a day with these gorillas and the mask.
Absolutely.
And build
They're
all
shooting
these things
as
out,
much
giving
day
more
for day
stuff
as
for
they
the
can.
editor to use.
And the sun's not even in a different position. We're getting no new information.
It's almost like high noon all the shots. I don't see any shadows or anything.
I did like that they are putting the neck restraints on them.
I like a lot of that stuff.
A theme that's repeating from the first movie, right?
I'm just really curious, and you know, I beg the forgiveness of the people that aren't used to this, but I'm going to evoke Star Wars time and time again. But you've had so many people recut that film, the prequels,
to their version. Yeah,
you could recut this film and cut it so that you know the chase scenes occur in the proper places, and you could trim 10 minutes out of this film and have a better film. It's just, this is such a circular.
10 minutes, you can take 20 minutes out because you take 10 minutes out of the front part of it. Yeah,
but it's they run, they do something. Nothing really happens. They run a little bit more
again. And let's be quite honest. And then I've watched the rest of this week because of course, there's no surprise about this. We do a week at a time. But I've obviously know what's going on. There's going to be some more chasing.
Yeah.
It's like more. Hey, guess what? We captured you. You got away. We captured you. Now you're going to get away again, and I don't know what happens after that.
And it comes down to why I asked initially, why is this constructed this way? Because essentially they end up in one place toward the end of our
right.
little 10-minute stretch here. That if they'd simply ended up there, this whole story makes a lot more sense.
So at 25 seconds into this, we actually get a cut, and for some reason we're now nighttime.
Yeah, we're in the pins.
So time
station.
has passed from daytime to nighttime, right? And we've got 3 pins that are
I
constructed.
think that's day for night, isn't it?
That is day for
Justin,
night.
what did I say?
No, it's nighttime in the movie, but it's called day for night. They shot
they
it.
shot it.
They shot the day,
right,
and then
now
they
they
color
made
corrected it to make it look
nighttime.
like night.
Okay,
That even looks like they might have stopped that down on set and not even color corrected it.
Really?
That actually makes a little more sense.
And before we get there, there's a mistake also that you can actually see their little rubber footies on both Brent and Nova's feet when they're getting captured. Their feet fling up.
See those?
You can totally see that they had protective gear on.
So we now have 3 pins. They're smaller than the ones we saw
they changed
from the first movie. They changed the structure of the movies. They're overcrowded. They still, for some reason, want to give them some type of creature comfort and throw straw and a random tree.
That's for pooping.
But maybe
tree.
But the little
Why do we poop on this tree?
the little dead tree trunk branch in the center. It's mimicked it like a zoo.
It is.
In all 3 of these things, we've got probably 10 to 15 humans inside these cells. They're all kind of rioting, like they're all mad.
Yeah.
These humans are not passive. They're trying to actively shake
Get
these
out or something like that?
Well, they're trying to be animals, I suppose. And we get Brent and Nova kind of tossed into these pins, and then something just really odd happens. Right? They get knocked to the floor of the pin, and they decide to stand. He pulls Nova up with him, and then all of a sudden, all the humans in his pin get quiet.
Just stare at him
And stare at him.
Just stop. Like there's something different about Brent, and I was wondering if this was meant to be him
they understand
recognizing his reality now and who these people were as more for his character, or if there really was something unique about them seeing him.
And that's the problem with the scene, because there's nothing that defines either one of those. If it's them noticing something about him, they needed to notice James Francisca's ungodly white teeth at that point. You know, they need,
or if he'd even
or short hair,
or like quietly to himself said no or something.
Yes.
That because I had that note here. The pin. Why are the humans so interested in Brent? They crowd him up good. There's no reason for him doing that unless it's if they had only showed them shove him into the pen and then everybody crowded on him, that would be different. But they show the pens with people climbing up and the tops are open. They could climb out if they really, really wanted to. It's like a PetSmart. Here's where we put all the rabbits pen. If they really stacked each other, they could get the hell out of there. But yeah, it's like, do the humanoids understand that Brent is somehow different than them?
Right.
Or are they just interested in him because he's new?
But to have that moment, you have to define it somehow, and they do not define it. No one notices anything. They just stare at each other for no reason, and nothing is said.
Now, granted, he couldn't have shouted like "Con." He
That's
couldn't
what
have
I'm saying,
shouted.
like,
He couldn't have
even-
shouted no because it would have alerted the gorillas,
Or even to
but
himself.
even uttering something would have made that moment a little more him realizing what's going on versus them noticing him unusual.
Yeah.
Did you guys saw Labyrinth, right?
Yes, I have.
A long
So-
time ago.
There's the
You remind me
moment
of
when
the babe?
yeah.
What, babe?
There's the moment where all the humans kind of gather, and the short ones here, and then the ones on the side, and the ones kind of taller, and the moment where they just kind of pause for a moment. It really made me think of the scene where all the goblins gather,
Okay.
and she's about to say the words, wanting the
child back? Or...
the child when she wanted to give the child away.
Oh, yeah, the giveaway. Okay, well, they're all gathering around
And they're
waiting,
waiting for her to say the words.
Okay.
This is what it made me think of. Like this kind of shaggy hair and these kind of faces kind of pushed together. And they're like, huh? Oh, is she going to say the words?
And then all of a sudden he just goes... and then they go, oh?
Of course,
Yeah,
when
which
you
is-
did that,
I-
how funny would that scene be if all of a sudden that you just put the sound effect of
Or chimp scream.
if one of them farted? But what is it anyone is noticing? There's no, he has blonde hair, and every other person has
dark hair.
dark
Maybe that's
haired.
what it is. I mean, they did a better job of finding people that look like they could be savages. This
But why
movie.
at that point? Why don't they reach up? Why doesn't somebody touch his hair and he swats it away? Why don't they?
Why, yeah.
Even those simple gestures add dramatic tension.
just-
would
don't-
have that would have done something to make me wonder why they were suddenly stopping, moving on.
Right.
It was a really dramatic moment, though. Its meaning was just lost
Right.
in them not giving us smaller cues as to what was going on.
Now, in the moments preceding this, when they capture Brent and Nova, I had a note there that I overlooked, and I wanted to bring it back to that. I do find it interesting that my brain, as of today, found myself very worried about how the apes were treating Nova when they captured her.
Like, as a male?
As a male
Worried
looking
about a
at it,
female?
is she being abused in that way? And I found myself looking at that. And
But you don't think about any other females in there. Because there are other females
Yeah.
in these cages.
But and maybe it is, I care about Nova, and I that's why I worry. But, I even found myself, are they being especially hard with her, whatever it is? I wish, we've talked many times about how they almost ignore the women in this film,
Yeah.
that they don't make any social...
I mean, the only positive female is Zira. I mean, Nova is a blank slate, as far as we know. So what other females are... I mean,
There
the only
aren't any.
other female died in the first scene of the movie before she even was in the...
And how do you handle this with Nova, because she's mute? To me, you almost have to make it to where they are incredibly harsh with her. I'm not saying sexually harsh. I mean physically harsh, putting
Like,
restraints on her,
yeah.
so that it feels, in our minds, that's how you do these kind of things. You don't necessarily have to have somebody get on the soapbox and preach about that women have to be treated equally. If we simply show a woman being treated harshly, that evokes... we begin to juxtapose our thoughts in on it.
Yeah.
And so I found that moment interesting. It doesn't really do anything, but I thought, whoa, there's a great moment. They could have if they just amped it up a little bit, they could have said something about it.
There is something to be said for a very attractive woman with this moment where she's being restrained and she's struggling, in which you kind of see kind of the heaving breasts moment that felt a little exploitive, but it wasn't done sexually.
Right.
But just a second later, Brent is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's just unique because we're not used to kind of seeing this cleavaged woman
Right.
move around in restraints. Brent's treated the same way 2 seconds later. So I can't put those two, other than the fact that I'm sexually noticing what's happening to her.
Right.
Because that's what I'm attuned to pay attention to.
That brings up one thing about the casting of Linda Harrison. She's not Raquel Welch. God,
She's not 1 million BC.
she's not an especially large-breasted, curvaceous woman. Now, she is a very lovely, beautiful, attractive
Oh, yeah,
woman.
yeah.
But in the casting of this, they didn't just necessarily go for it. They went for a beauty, But they didn't go for, wow, she has large breasts, huge hips, these kind of things that you could immediately amplify. Back to your point a day or so ago where you were talking about what she's wearing. She looks attractive, but it doesn't immediately make me go,